Howdy, it's Jace. Happy Friday to you all. We all got through another week. Nope, I hate that. I don't like that at all. That's something I hear and it really bugs me, actually. It makes me sad. One of my sponsees told me today, they're like, oh, TGIF. And I'm like, oh, it's a bummer. I don't want to be at a place in life where I'm like, oh, thank God, so parts of my life are over now, that I get to be on this day. I think each day brings its own awesome elements with it, all to be celebrated, and I don't want to discount any of that. Some weeks are tough though. Some weeks do feel like we just made our way through them, and I reckon that's all part of it. But it is Friday. I don't know where you live, but here in Austin, it is amazing and beautiful, and I cannot wait to be done at the office so I can go play outside. It's a gorgeous day. Today, I wanted to cover a topic that was in the poll from last week that had been tied. Actually, I think they're all tied on what people want to talk about. So I'm going to talk about developing self-love. It's something that I have come up a lot with people who contact me to work with me. And I think it's something that we're seeing a lot of just in general right now. It's kind of cool and weird that self-care, self-love, authenticity, all of these things are kind of like trending topics right now. I normally don't really dig trends, but hell, if there's going to be a trend, this is a pretty awesome one. I like that we're starting to look at ourselves as worthy of care and that it's becoming a cool thing to do. I don't know why it took until 2019 for us to do that as like a whole, but we're doing it now. It's a thing now, and it's really, really awesome. There are a lot of tools and tips, tactics for practicing self-care. Some of those can be purchased, like a spa package or a pedicure for some folks, or whatever your jam might be. Some things we can do naturally, like getting enough sleep, eating foods that make our bodies feel really good, getting exercise, maybe reading our favorite books, or there are lots of things that go into self-care. I think that's really important, and I think it's different than self-love. There are ways to practice being loving towards yourself, but I think there's one thing that is absolutely necessary for self-love, and it's really hard and it's super uncomfortable. Last week we talked about the importance of stepping outside of your comfort zone to grow and to find any areas of success in life. This is definitely one of them. This is maybe one of the hardest things that any person will ever do. And I don't say that to be hyperbolic or dramatic or anything like that. It's certainly been one of the scariest and toughest things for me to do. And I hear about it from others in recovery and groups I work with, that this is one of the toughest things. Before you can love yourself, you have to actually look at yourself. All of it. 100%. And not look at it and judge it and say, oh, look at these ugly parts. Look how ugly I am. Look at, oh, I'm weird shaped over here. Oh, I did all of these shitty things in my past, or I've caused so much harm, so much damage. I'm a bad person. Looking at those things that way is not loving, I'm sure you can imagine. But looking at them and saying, I see you. I see what I see right now. Like, yes, you did those things in the past. Yes, you are how you are today and now, and to look at those pieces of ourselves, the good ones, the shiny ones, the ones that everyone loves, and then there's those other parts of ourselves that often stay in the dark. They're not shared with others, and they're regularly not looked at even by ourselves. To love yourself, there can be no strings attached. It's just like love with anything else. There's no control in love. There's no judgment in love. It's just pure acceptance. And that's really hard, especially for people in recovery, not the recovery element, but the things that led us here. I don't know about you, but in my active addiction, manipulation and power were the name of the game. That is what it was all about for me. So many people get confused with sex addiction, which was my main area of acting out in addiction, and they think it has to do with sex. Like, oh, so you like to have sex a lot, like who cares? Or wanting to have sex is healthy, or all of these silly things around sex. And it's like, it has nothing to do with sex, just like none of it has to do with the actual thing. For me, it was about trying to take back power that I thought had been taken from me. And I thought I had to take it from other people in order to regain my power. And that was the main driving factor in my own active addiction. And I'm sure I don't have to tell y'all that means doing some pretty ugly stuff, some stuff that some people might look at as unforgivable. Looking at that and owning it was one of the scariest things I've had to do. But I could not really love myself unless I saw everything and accepted it. And then there are things that aren't even to that extreme, where those things were very dark, very difficult, embarrassing. I had a lot of shame, right? So it's not just the things that I did, but things that were done to me as well that caused a lot of shame, especially early childhood trauma that really formed how I interacted with others, how I viewed myself, how I viewed the world. All of that leads to this self-hatred for a lot of us, not being good enough, not being worthy, being inherently broken. That, these are things that I experience, that I hear from a lot of people. I don't know about you, but in my meetings, I hear from so many newcomers, if people really knew who I was, if people really saw me, they'd hate me, or they would reject me, or they would despise me, or I thought people would think I was disgusting and completely unacceptable. And we hide from ourselves, of course, as well. And so that is the truth. I could do a whole course, I could do a year-long program to help with practices of self-love and all of that. But honestly, to distill all of that down, the truth is, to develop self-love, you have to take a good, hard look at yourself in entirety and accept all of those pieces. You don't have to keep all of them as they are. Like, I don't act in manipulative ways anymore. It's not like accepting it justifies it or excuses it or condones it in some way. It's just the truth. I treated people poorly. That's the truth. That doesn't mean I'm excusing it because I accept that fact, right? It's just like, yeah, that's reality. Or even things that were very dangerous and harmful. I can't tell you how many times I drove drunk. I have to look at that and be like, I put myself in danger. I put other people in danger. By the grace of a power greater than me, I was not harmed and I didn't harm anyone. But by saying that, I mean, like, yeah, I accept that. I own that. I did that. I'd have to take responsibility for that and the things that I did in my active addiction and just in life. That doesn't mean I'm justifying drunk driving. It doesn't mean I'm justifying trying to take power from others. It's just that I see it and I accept it and I forgive it and I love it. That's so much easier to say than to do, right? This has been years of deep work, and it's not an overnight thing. It's not an easy thing. I think a lot of people are looking for that one secret ingredient that will then, boom, change it all. We're looking for that magic pill, that magic wand, and it's just going to be that one thing. And then all of a sudden, everything's different. It blows the top off of it. That thing doesn't really exist. I know a lot of us know that, but we're still hoping that it does exist. And we're going to find that one thing. We're going to read that one right book. We're going to go to that one right class. We're going to get that one right person in our lives, or we're going to, hit 5 years of sobriety and then it'll all happen. Or, we have these ideas. You might not, but so many folks do. I certainly have. I can't tell you how many books I've read. I mean, I got into all of this because I am a self-development and transformation junkie, because I'm always searching, like, where's that thing? It's going to be that one thing. And it's not, and it never is. And now I've learned a ton of things, like an insane amount of things, and I've put so many of those into practice. But that's the honest to goodness truth. I have no magic solution to offer you, no quick 3-step thing. Like, that's what people are like, oh, put out like lists, like top 10 this and like 5 this, and like do this in 3 easy steps. And it's like, that's all sales tactics. That's what so much content is. Even my content is content marketing, right? Like, so much of this stuff is sales stuff. And so it's like, what's going to get people's attention? What will open eyes? What will open email boxes? That's the shit they put on there. But there's not substance in a lot of that stuff. Those promises of like, do this thing and triple your income in a month. Like, come on, that's just not real. It's just to get into people's pockets. Not maliciously, but because that's how our marketing of today goes. And that, it is how it is. And I'm not saying anyone's a terrible person or anything like that, but we keep getting these promises, and it has shifted how we view reality and how we view life. And I think storytelling plays a big part in this as well, because we consume so much content, especially in this generation. Everything is fed to us, and storytelling has played a really big part in how we operate in life. And right, it's like you have the downs and the growing, and it's like, then there's the one thing, there's the climactic point, and then that changes everything, and then it goes on, and like, but that's just to tell it in a concise story. People always say that, like, what was your one moment? And I'm like, bitch, I'm a human. Like, I've had 100,000 moments that have changed and shaped me. I didn't have like my one moment. When I'm interviewed in magazines or on TV or whatever, they're like, what was that one thing? Like, what was your one moment that then you changed, or then you got sober, or then it was like, man, I didn't have that like one. I had several things, and then things that should have been that thing. Man, yeah, like just some, again, that ugly stuff, that stuff that I was in that I should have seen, like, oh, this is some pretty dark shit. Everyone in my life is leaving me, and they insist I don't contact them. That should have been a moment, but it wasn't, right? But that did shape me. So all of that to say, you have to follow your gut in all of this, of course. Like, listen to yourself, trust yourself. Check in with yourself. You already know the answers to all of this. And so many of us don't check in or look to ourselves because we have to look through all of those layers of shit first. But there's so much beauty in that, and under it, and on it, and it is part of it. It all is one amazing piece. It all goes together. None of it can be separate. That's the thing. You can't love parts of yourself. It's got to be everything or nothing, really. And then, of course, I think what a lot of us experience is that we're not getting the love from others that we really want. And the truth of that is the same. We're not going to get that from others until we're able to give it to ourselves first. There are a lot of reasons behind that. It's not just a saying like, we have to love yourself before others will love you. Like, no, there's actual real reasons why that is. And it is true, even though it's kind of become a cliche. It is true. And we also can't give our love fully if we are not able to give that to ourselves, because we're also not receiving it. If we're not able to receive it, then we're not giving it to ourselves. We can't give it to others, and we certainly can't receive it from them either. Like, it's this really bummer cycle that goes on until you can flip that around. And when you are able to look at those parts and love those parts and really love who you are, then, oh my gosh, giving love is so easy. You'll find out you are love. You're nothing but love. You don't have to find out how to love. You just are love, and it comes off of you naturally. And sometimes you feel like if you don't give it away, you're going to explode, and you could just let other people lavish you in it. And it's so amazing because you're not hiding anything anymore. And that's the truth. So the number one thing, if you want numbers and you want a list, the number one thing for developing self-love is to put yourself under a microscope and do your best to just observe without judgment and accept all of those parts about you, the shiny ones and the grimy ones. And I'll tell you, I might not know you, but I do know that they're all worth loving. You exist and you are inherently worthy of love. That's how I see it. That's what I got for y'all. I hope everyone has a beautiful weekend. I am going to finish my work as fast as I can so I can get out there and play. I have one of my favorite t-shirts on. It says, "Be Dareful out there." I love this shirt. I got it particularly because there's someone in my life who is afraid of everything and always like cautions me to not do anything, like don't travel anywhere, don't go anywhere. It's too dangerous, too dangerous, too dangerous. And I'm just like, oh, we are very different people. If I'm scared of it, I'm doing it. Like that's just how that goes for me. But either way, be dareful out there. I love it. I love you guys. Love yourself. Find a way. Start practicing it. Start looking at those things. Find a way. You are totally worthy of being loved and having an amazing life, what I call the boldly satisfying life. And I hope I can be helpful in you finding yours. That's what I got. Have a great Friday. I'll see y'all later.